1, 2, 3,
4.
5.
In a world constantly awaiting the next latest and greatest innovation, the automotive industry has been heavily influenced. Over the last few years, electric cars have gained the favor of many in the place of gasoline-powered vehicles. However, many people are adamant that the world stop using gas-powered vehicles altogether and replace them with electric power. This change of perspective has been heavily advocated by those, especially in government positions. It is estimated by the International Energy Agency that merely 1% in the United States of all cars are purely electric. In order to raise this percentage, government legislation, such as California's ban on gas-powered vehicles in 2035, are on the rise. ABC News reported that 17 other states are potentially going to join California by enacting similar laws. Despite the glorifying of this new and improved vehicle type that many are partaking in, the benefits of these electric vehicles are not as fantastic as they are made out to be. Drivers of gas-powered cars enjoy cheaper prices and greater convenience. And while driving electric vehicles do provide certain environmental benefits, the extent to which many try to proclaim is simply untrue. Let us first dive into the cost difference between the two types of vehicles. One of the greatest deciding factors when purchasing a vehicle in today's market is its price. Kelley Blue Book finds that the average electric vehicle costs $66,000, while the average gas-powered vehicle is only $48,000. In addition to costing more off the lot, other expenses also come into play. Katana DeMont addresses many of these expenses in an article for banking app Chime. These include the average insurance cost is 23% higher for those with electric vehicles, and a $2,200 charging station that in turn can potentially raise one's electric bill by $70. Barry Collins for MSN also dives into some more possible expenses that accompany electric vehicles. He reports that if the battery in an electric car needs replacing, the owner will have to shell out a stunning $14,000. This number will only increase depending on the make and model of the car. All in all, while fuel must be purchased on a regular basis for gas-powered vehicles, the small, consistent price does not outweigh that of much greater, less frequent fees for electric vehicles. While price certainly favors gas-powered vehicles, it is not alone. The convenience of gas-powered cars is also much greater than that of an electric nature. When comparing the distance the average electric car travels on a fully charged battery versus a gas-powered vehicle does on a full tank, it is clear that the average gas-powered car is much more convenient for the driver. According to CNBC, the average electric vehicle travels 200 miles on a full battery. Most gas-powered cars travel roughly 25 miles per gallon. It can be safely assumed that most cars hold between 12 and 16 miles of gallons of gas, And after doing the math, cars using gas can travel somewhere between 300 and 400 miles on a full tank, which is much greater than vehicles using electric power. In addition to the total distance that vehicles can travel, the time it takes to charge or fuel these vehicles is extremely different. Kelley Blue Book reveals that some electric vehicles can take up to 12 hours to fully charge the battery. In contrast, it only takes about 5 minutes to fill up a gas tank at any gas station. And these gas stations are extremely common and can be found on most street corners in the United States. Unlike gas stations, finding charging stations can be extremely difficult, especially in rural areas. This can cause individuals to drive far out of their way to ensure they will not be stranded with a dead battery on the side of the road. Even with these great advantages of gas-powered vehicles over electric, some would still argue that the environmental friendliness of electric vehicles provides more important benefits. Many people, including the current presidential administration, fall under these same beliefs. While the core perception of electric vehicles is that they are better for the environment than gas-powered vehicles, this is not necessarily true. Electric cars are called such because they are able to run off of solely electric power. This includes power derived from non-renewable resources such as natural gas, coal, and as well as some renewable sources such as hydro, wind, and solar power. Were all of the power to come from renewable sources, electric cars would have fantastic benefits. However, the U.S. Energy Information Administration finds that only 20% of the energy comes from renewable sources, leaving the remaining 80% to be derived from unrenewable resources. This deception would come as devastating news to many who believe electric cars are great because they simply sound good. To make matters worse, PBS reports that if the energy source comes from coal, the electric cars produce 3.6 times more soot and smog than those powered by gas, because of the pollution made in generating the electricity. This means not only are electric cars not as they would claim to be, if it is possible, then many worsen the problem they were supposed to mend. It is apparent that electric cars are not quite on par with many claims that people, especially those in high social ranks, place on them. After viewing many different aspects of gas-powered vehicles and how they compare to that of electric power, it seems that a logical conclusion can be drawn. Gas-powered vehicles are clearly better to purchase than electric power. Finally, firstly, the cost of the car is much less. Both the cost off the lot as well as the price of insurance for the car is much less. Therefore, financially, the gas-powered car triumphs. Secondly, gas-powered vehicles allow their owner to experience much greater convenience while driving. The average electric vehicle does not last for as many miles consecutively as gas-powered vehicles do. Gas stations are also much more common than charging stations, thus allowing drivers to not have to plan out their routes with as much precision. And lastly, the benefits electric vehicles are associated with are not as amazing as many as perceive them to be. Many electric vehicles are running on electricity created through the use of non-renewable resources. If these resources happen to be coal, the environmental impact is worse than if the car had been gas-powered. And all of these aspects combine to strongly advocate against electric vehicles. While a majority of society seem to lean in directions that electric vehicles are better, especially those in the presidential administration and government positions, this is most likely due to a blind following rather than the fact-based opinion, which in turn has influenced a majority of the population, especially in the United States. If electric technology advances more in the next few years, as it has in the last few, these vehicles may become better for consumers, but in order for this to happen, renewable resources must be used to their full potential, as well as other factors such as the availability and the convenience of these vehicles. However, this progression has not yet been made, and therefore, gas-powered vehicles stand superior to electric cars in the current standing. Thank you.
1, 3.